Go.
We also got one in the chat, which was about how to work out what makes you happy. But I don't know if you can cover that in -5 minutes.
Well, the answer is I don't know. I don't know what. I think all you can do is try things and observe yourself and see whether it's bringing out a bad side of you or a good side of you. You know, because if you find it makes you competitive or it makes you anxious or whatever, then maybe you shouldn't be doing it. But there are some things I've found as I've got older, I've got a bit lazier and a bit more comfort zoney. And so, you know, if my friends are going rock climbing or something, I think, oh, I don't fancy that. I can't be bothered with that. But actually, if I go, it turns out to be brilliant. And I come out of my comfort zone and I think, I'm glad I did that. So I think it is quite hard to know what will make you happy. And it's easy to turn down something that actually would make you happy. So I think you've got to experiment with what makes you happy and try to know yourself and work out what makes you happy. Because in a way, that's the biggest question of all, isn't it? What will make me happy? And you've got to work on that. And everybody's different. So, you know, there's no easy answer. But I think trying to work out what makes you happy is interesting. And
something
laziness.
quite helpful as well, if you want to be scientific about it, depending on what kind of person you is. I know some people who track every day just how happy was I today, and
Ooh.
Was it sunny, or was it because I ate in a restaurant, or like they try and track a correlation. But even if you're doing like a gratitude journal or something where every day you write down 2 things that made you happy that day, you might see over time, you're like, oh, it's always eating out, or it's always hanging out with friends, or it's always doing sport. You might be able to get a correlation if you're writing it down, because it's very hard to be like, what was good this year? I don't know.
I think that's brilliant. You can look back on the whole year as well and think, actually, you know, building that shed gave me a lot of happiness this year. And at the time, maybe you weren't sure if you wanted to do it. And there were periods of it when you felt unhappy. But the other problem with happiness is there's the short term and the longer term. It's called hedonistic and Udaemonic. So I went on a holiday once where we walked to Everest base camp. It was like this 3-week trip in the Himalayas. And it was utter hell. Every day I hated it. Every day I just thought, why am I doing this? I could be lying on a beach in the sunshine with waiters bringing me pina coladas. But no, I'm on this stupid trek and I had diarrhea. There were no toilets. You had to just go behind a rock. Honestly, I can't tell you the pain. Exhaustion, you know, headaches, altitude sickness, you can't sleep. But it was brilliant. And I look back and I think, wow, I'm so glad I did that. And I stood at the foot of Mount Everest and looked at it. And it was amazing in a way. So at the time, it gave me loads of unhappiness. But looking back, it gives me happiness to think about it. Think about how amazing and the things we saw and what it was like. So overall, is it happiness positive or negative? And I sort of think, I'll just draw this on the top here, that at the time it was like a big negative thing, but now it's positive for me forever. And I think I'm now at the point where it's paid back. And I'm sort of, because I still get happiness every day from the fact that I was there and I did that and I saw it. And every time we watch a sort of TV program about mountaineers, I think, well, you know, I've stood at the bottom of Mount Everest. I'd never go up it, by the way. You'd have to be crazy. But I think in smaller ways, I mean, I remember when I went on, I've been on some cycling holidays with some of Suzanne's friends, JB and Keith and things. And even then there were times when you're going up a hill or it's raining and you think, why am I doing this? But actually overall, it was a brilliant trip. And you look back and you get happiness. You get long-term happiness from having done those things. So it's interesting, I think, to look at the end of the year and think, what did I get happiness from? And should I do more of that? And should I push myself out of my comfort zone because I'll get happiness later? But, you know, we're back to sort of enjoy and achieve in a way, aren't we? And I think, you know, we do get some happiness from things we've achieved. And so I think you just got to keep thinking about that. But I do think laziness, the book, The Road Less Traveled, is brilliant. And he says in The Road Less Traveled, that by Scott Peck, he says that laziness is the biggest cause of problems. It's the biggest crime of all, is laziness. It's the root of every problem. And, you know, to not bother to build the shed, or not bother to learn a new skill, or to not bother to go to Mount Everest would mean you wouldn't get all that happiness later. And it is really tempting just to sit in your armchair and watch football or whatever, but then you never get that achievement, and then you're left with a slightly uneasy feeling of, you know, so you can have a lazy weekend, can't you? But when you get to Sunday night, you think, I've wasted this weekend, really. So I think pushing yourself out of your comfort zone or not being lazy is definitely something to do with this.